Welcome to CT Expert Insights. When your business needs people it can trust, you can count on us. We dedicate ourselves to getting to know your needs and finding solutions to meet them. You'll have a team of experts backing you up.
Hi, I'm Greg Corombos. Our guest this week on Expert Insights is Barbara Weltman, president of Big Ideas for Small Business Incorporated. One of Barbara's many areas of expertise is helping business owners navigate tax law and prepare for tax season. She's here today to explain what business owners ought to be considering on this front in the final weeks of 2020. And you can find a lot of her thoughts also in the latest edition of J.K. Lasser's Small Business Taxes, the 2021 edition. And Barbara, thanks so much for being with us.
It's my pleasure.
Well, some things need to be priorities every year, of course, when it comes to tax preparation, and some things may be unique to this unique year. But let's start with your tax advice on a topic that should be top of mind pretty much all the time, and that's knowing your numbers. What numbers in particular are you referring to, and how do you make sure you stay on top of them?
Well, you want to know your numbers year to date. So, in other words, are you in a profit or a loss situation? For 2020, many businesses, unfortunately, are in a loss situation. The reason you need to review this, and this means just basically looking at your income and expenses for year to date, so that you know the actions to take between now and the end of the year to favorably impact your 2020 taxes and prepare for 2021.
So, Barbara, when you put this at the top of the list, it means one of two things. It's something that everybody has to remember to do. Or two, it could mean that there are a substantial number of business owners out there that don't actually know. So is this more of just a reminder, or is it something that business owners really struggle with?
I don't think you can generalize, because I think some people keep on top of their numbers regularly. They look at their sales numbers every week, and they check their expenses. But other business owners are so busy running their business that they don't spend the time that would be helpful to looking over their numbers, so that they can make a lot of decisions, not just with respect to taxes, but with respect to other areas of running a business, pricing and such. So knowing your numbers, it's always an essential thing, but it's critical at this time of the year.
And so that's something you need to know all the time, every year. And then there are things you need to determine on a situational basis. And that's where we go with our second point, and that's to determine your flexibility for action. What do people need to know? What options do they have on this front?
If you report your income and expenses on the cash basis, which most small businesses do, then you have a lot of flexibility on timing the reporting of income and expenses for the year. And what I mean by this is you can take actions between now and the end of the year so that you can know whether you want to report the income in 2020 or defer it to 2021. Now, standard year-end strategy suggests defer income, accelerate deductions. In other words, push the income to the next year if you can, or bring the expenses forward if you can. But this isn't a usual year. And so it might not be a good idea, for example, to work that you perform late in the year. Don't send out a bill until late in the year, and then you don't get paid until next year. But that might not be a good thing if you expect 2020 to be a lower tax year than the coming year, because if you defer the income, it's going to be taxed higher next year. What's more, you may just need the cash now. You have cash flow issues and you want to get the money as soon as possible. And another point, many customers are having financial difficulties. So if there's any question about collection ability, whether you're going to be able to collect on the invoices you submit, I think don't try to defer your income. Get paid as soon as possible. That's with respect to the income, and the flip side would apply to expenses. So instead of making sure that you optimize your expenses this year, you might want to wait till next year, because if you're in a higher tax bracket next year, those deductions for your expenses are worth more.
Let's talk about another thing that happens just about every year, but may have some new wrinkles as a result of what we've been through here in 2020, and that's last-minute actions, things you can do at the end of the year, charitable donations and bonuses and that sort of thing. So what are the options, and how big of a difference do they make on the tax side?
I think with respect to year-end bonuses, this is an interesting year. Some businesses did very well despite the pandemic, and they want to help their employees and give year-end bonuses. Other businesses may have just made it through, but they want to reward loyal employees who stuck with them through the pandemic. So year-end bonuses decide how much to pay and factor in employment taxes on those benefits, on those bonuses rather. So that's one thing. Also, if you have a retirement plan, you probably want to make your contributions, or if you don't have a retirement plan yet in place for 2020, this is a great time to set one up because there's a higher. There always was a tax credit for setting up a retirement plan, but they greatly increased the amount of the credit that you can take up to $5,000 per year for up to 5 years to cover the administrative costs of starting a retirement plan if you don't have one already. And a second credit, which can be taken in addition if you adopt an automatic enrollment plan, a 401k where employees are automatically enrolled and make salary contributions unless they opt out. So that's something to consider. And again, this year, charitable contributions, businesses are always charitable, especially for causes in their local communities. And there are some new tax rules under the CARES Act to enhance the deductibility. So check those out. For example, there's an increased write-off for donations of food inventory, for cash donations. So those might be opportunities to take advantage of last minute.
We're talking with Barbara Weltman. She is the president of Big Ideas for Small Business, Inc., and you can find her latest tax advice in J.K. Lasser's Small Business Taxes 2021. And Barbara, you just mentioned the CARES Act, and so part of that, of course, is the Paycheck Protection Program. And so for those with PPP loans, how does that complicate or change, at least, how they approach tax season right now?
Well, I'm glad that you used the word complicate because that's really where we are right now. The one thing that we do know is right now we're in the application process for loan forgiveness. In other words, if you have spent at least 60% on payroll costs, you may qualify for loan forgiveness. And the application process is underway where you submit one of 3 forms to your lender to request loan forgiveness. The lender reviews it, then the lender goes to the SBA, and then you get loan approval. This is all going to take some time, so we probably won't know about loan forgiveness until next year. But with that said, look, when you get loan proceeds, they're not taxable to you. And the CARES Act specifically said that if you get loan forgiveness, you're not going to be taxed on that, even though usually cancellation of debt is taxable income. So that's what we do know. But one of the things that's a little unclear is that the IRS had ruled earlier that any expenses covered by the loan forgiveness, your payroll, your rent, your utilities and such, are not going to be deductible. And with that said, Congress is considering a measure that would allow deductibility. So you'd get loan forgiveness and deductibility. But we don't know that now. Hopefully we'll have an answer before you have to file your tax return.
Let's move on the list now to revising the final estimated tax payment. What sort of revisions are on the table, and how much of a difference could those make? Well,
I think just to point out that C corporations pay their final on calendar year, pay their final installment on December 15th, and owners of pass-through entities pay their personal estimated taxes January 15, 2021. It's the last installment for 2020 taxes. And so I circle back to the first point that we talked about knowing your numbers. Review your situation and the estimated taxes that you've paid so far. Why make additional payments that you don't need to make? If you do, you're going to have to wait to file your return to get the refund. So it's a great opportunity to minimize your cash flow here if you don't have to make those payments. But then again, if you've been profitable and you need to continue to make those payments to avoid underpayment penalties.
Lastly, Barbara, preparing for 2021. It seems like this year has taken an awfully long time, but the new year is now less than 2 months away. So what is on the checklist?
Without having everybody's head spin, I know mine is just thinking about getting through 2020. It seems like it's challenging enough. How can we even think ahead? But unfortunately, we really need to for a number of reasons. First of all, within a month, we're going to have to be issuing W-2s to our employees and 1099s to independent contractors who worked for us. This year, there's a new 1099 for independent contractors, 1099 NEC. So it's just a new form. It's easier than the old form, actually. But still, that's action that we want to prepare for so that we can just take care of it and meet the deadline. We also want to put plans in place that we need to be thinking about now. So I think one of the most important things that we should be thinking about right now is health coverage. I mean, pandemic aside, even if there weren't a pandemic, we certainly want to make sure that we can help our employees with health coverage. And it's always fiscally challenging for small businesses to do this. There are many options that we can be helpful to employees. So, for example, we can use a qualified small employer health reimbursement arrangement where the company pays a certain amount to employees and employees go out and get their own coverage. The amount that the employer can reimburse is fixed by law, and it's a certain amount for self-only coverage or family coverage. There's also an individual coverage health reimbursement arrangement where the company can set any reimbursement amount, and it works much the same way where employees can go out and get their own coverage with the money that they reimburse. What's more, most of the reimbursement probably won't cover the entire premiums for employees, so companies can help their employees by setting up a cafeteria plan to enable employees to pay their share of premiums on a pre-tax basis. So this is something that you want to set up now so you're good to go on January 1. Another area is retirement plans, again, putting in place 401ks or other plans that are going to require salary reduction contributions by employees, giving employees the notice requirements they need now so they can make their decisions on how much they're going to contribute for the coming year and whether they want to join these plans or not, and what you're going to pay going forward. I think average salary raises going forward, it's definitely under 3% nationwide, but it changes a little by industry. So you want to just think about, are you still paying competitive wages with for your employees, and just think ahead about everything that you need to address for the coming year so that you put all of these plans in place, you understand all of the tax ramifications, because it's really the after-tax cost that hits your pocketbook.
A lot to keep in mind, but having your advice and your plan for how to best address this tax season certainly makes things a lot easier. Barbara, thank you very much for being with us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Barbara Weltman is president of Big Ideas for Small Business Incorporated. You can find more at bigideasforsmallbusiness.com. She's a longtime business tax expert, and you can find her latest insights in J.K. Lasser's Small Business Taxes 2021. I'm Greg Corombos, and for more information on this topic, please call CT at 844-787-7782.
With 125 years of experience, CT is here to help you at every stage of the business life cycle.